Alright, Grand Prix owners. So, if you saw one of my previous videos, I don't know if you scroll through, you saw I did a throttle body cleaning on Trailblazer. Um, as I personally own this, my personal car, my 2005 Grand Prix. These cars also have a starting issue. I'll get to that in a minute. So I'm actually going to do the same thing. I'm going to clean the throttle body on my Grand Prix, show you guys how to do that. This really should fix the issue. There's been a couple issues. These cars don't have a lot, but there is some stuff they have. One of the issues that you see is like an erratic idle, extremely erratic. That may not be fixed by this. You can still try it. It's also even good just due to upkeep the car. But at the same time, too, this is more to fix a problem with a hard start, which is very common on the Grand Prix, especially these Series 3s. Series 2, you did have them not as bad for some reason. Series 3, I think, is a drive-by-wire, the throttle body they use. Maybe that's why. Either way, it is kind of a common issue, and that's when you have to start the car, and sometimes you start it, and it immediately shuts off. You have to put your foot on the gas, give a little bit of gas to get it going, and it'll run just fine after. But you have to give it a little bit of gas to get it going. Also, at the same time, too, you may notice that when you have to, like if you're passing or something, you put your foot down the accelerator, there's a little bit of a hesitation, almost like a little dip in the RPM before it takes off. So hopefully this will fix most of that. So the thing I'm going to show you first, obviously, the first thing is we're going to take off this here. To do that, you just spin this off. Take that off there. Watch out, don't get any contaminants in here. You're going to lift this out. That should come off pretty easily. Put that down on the floor and make sure, for obvious reasons, put that back in. That way you don't have to worry about getting stuff inside. So we're talking about the throttle body. Let me just zoom in for you guys a bit here. Here we go. It's right over here. So that's what we're going to be looking to clean today. Obviously, the main difference between my car versus others, you can't really, well, you kind of saw it before, is I have an intake. Other than that, you normally have your air filter box there. But the takeoff should be pretty straightforward. Really, for this here, what we're going to do is unplug this. We're going to take off the actual plenum over here and just take off the throttle body and clean it. Worth noting, obviously, a few things is you definitely want to make sure this is unplugged. Don't try. Some people may even just open this up, spray some throttle body cleaner if there's not too bad or anything like that. I'm expecting mine to be really bad. You don't want to do that because it's a fly-by-wire system. Battery's hooked up, and I'll explain something with the battery in a second too. But you don't want any power going to this because this can be dangerous. These flaps tend to be sometimes. Some of them are sharp, even though they're a pretty thick piece of metal. And you don't want to get your fingers caught or anything on the inside if this thing happens to engage. The second thing that some people will do is disconnect the battery. I'm not going to bother disconnect the battery, but the main reason to do that is either A, you may be running codes already, maybe getting engine codes if this comes up. Doesn't always happen, but it does sometimes. And if that's going to reset the codes. Also, at the same time too, cleaning this up may actually trigger a code because the engine has to remap itself after the throttle body has been cleaned. I'm not going to bother disconnect the battery because I have an ODB tube meter, so if I happen to draw a code, I'll just clear it. I'm not too concerned about that. But if you don't have an ODB2 tool or anything like that, you may want to consider that. Or if you get the code, it should clear within a couple weeks. Aside from that, it's pretty straightforward. As you can see, normally your box is, on this side over here. That's where your air box is, and just disconnection. So let me just change this camera around. Let's take a look. All right. So I want to show you the first part, which is taking off this plug over here. And the reason I'm going to show you that separately is because a little bit of a trick. I haven't seen a plug quite like this on the cars before, but it was pretty easy, but it could look a little weird at first. So if you see the plug here, you got a little notch at the top here. You're going to pull that out. Be careful. First, you don't want to pull too hard and break it. Secondly, it's very small. Easy to get lost in the shuffle down there. You don't want to do that. Once you do that, pull this up. It'll only go up so far. And then you just kind of wiggle it out. As you wiggle out, you'll see this kind of lift up. And boom, out it goes. That's disconnected. Put somewhere safe. Warning, as you're doing this, you don't want to get any throttle cleaning fluid. You don't want to get anything in here. So you want to make sure maybe to tape that up or anything like that, just to make sure to protect it. But that's how to take off that plug. That's all gone. Before I proceed any further, something I probably should have done at the beginning of the video. It just mentions stuff you guys will need. You're going to need to have a flat head. Obviously, take that off. You're going to need to have a 10 mil. Now, this car was, again, I don't know if you guys watched the Throttle Body for the Trailblazer, but it was just a regular 10 mil socket. But if you look at this one here, and I'll give you a better view, obviously, when I do the work, at the bottom, the 10 mil is actually a bolt, right, as opposed to just, you know, like that. So you're going to need to have a deep socket or a wrench, but a wrench is going to be a pain in the butt to get in there. So if you have a 10 mil deep, that will be good. Once you take that off, you just take those 4 off, and then we go from there. Now, obviously, once that gets off, you're going to need to do the throttle body cleaning itself. For that, you'll need to have your throttle body cleaner. I just have a regular CRC one here that worked well. You're going to need something to catch. You don't want this falling on the driveway. Obviously, it's a pollutant and everything. That's pretty strong, potent stuff. So you don't want that falling on the driveway, getting into water, things like that. So get something to catch all your fluids. Make sure to take care of your fluids properly. You're going to want to have protective eyewear. This stuff that gets in your eyes is not good. And protective gloves. I'm not a user of gloves, I'll be honest with you guys. I think I said it in the last video too. But you definitely want to do it because this stuff can do some damage to your hands. And really that's all you'll need to kind of get this job done. On the Trailblazer, I had to use a nylon, kind of like a toothbrush that I had, nylon toothbrush, and scrub out some of the buildup on there because it was so thick that even just spraying on wouldn't take it off. I'm assuming that's probably going to be the case here too. But, well, let's take it off and we'll find out. So we'll start off with our flathead. Let's just open that up there. Just a few turns should do the trick. Pull that off. Yeah, as anticipated. Holy smokes, it's looking pretty bad in there. And this side is always the cleaner side. It's the inside that's going to be dirty, and that looks pretty damn bad. Alright, let's go ahead. I'm just going to stop for a second. I didn't get my socket ready, so let me get the socket ready and we'll start. Alright, so I'm ready to take off the throttle body, and if you look here, as you can see, there's 2 top bolts and 2 bottom bolts down here. 2 nuts. So we're going to go ahead and take that off now. So we'll start. Oh, luckily they're not too tight. I was wondering if there's going to be any corrosion. It is a 12-year-old car after all. But luckily, these are coming off like a charm. Now, let's go ahead here. Like you see, I can hand undo it. Nice and easy. Pretty straightforward stuff, guys. Oh, by the way, you'll notice now. Well, first off, one thing to point out, this looks like it has a rubber seal on it. It's not threaded or anything, it's just like a little seal. I guess it's a seal in. You see it there. One thing you notice, obviously, for my longtime viewers, is I now have a tripod that I'm using, so that should make watching a lot easier and me able to actually film doing this stuff. Because I know a lot of people said about me with the shaky cam, especially with my old camera and stuff like that. A little bit more of a pain. Also, some people actually wanted to see this part of it, and I wasn't able to show them at the time because I had no one to hold my camera. So, hey, bonus, right? Now, one thing to point out for these lower threads hit down here is that there seems to be some corrosion on there, which is understandable. Threads are exposed to all the elements, to the heat coming up from the exhaust manifold, and so on. So where the top bolts, they're all concealed, they're easy to take off. These ones here seem to need a little bit of elbow grease, not a lot, just a bit. Couldn't do these by hand, just due to some of the corrosion on there. But we're gonna get those off, no problem. Go. It's off. I'm going to do the other one now. Now, point on this, obviously you want to do this when the engine's cold. I mean, it should be pretty straightforward, but sometimes it's something easily overlooked or forgotten. You get started and you're like, oh no, I should have done that. I didn't realize, I didn't think about it. One of the main reasons, of course, is your exhaust manifold. The exhaust piping is right there. So this will get very hot, and even if it didn't, which it would, your hand can actually touch that. And in my younger days, I've made that mistake, and it was instant searing. So you want to be absolutely careful of that. Okay, this here we can just do right hand. These come off nice and smooth. I'm actually kind of excited to see what this is going to look like, because in all the 12 years this car's existed, it's never been done. I've never done it. I've had the car about 8 years now, and definitely not been done. So that just comes right off. Oh my gosh. Look at that, people. Look at that. That is horrendous. Alright? There's no doubt about it. Oh my gosh, I just turned it over and it leaked like a whole bunch of fluid on my car. I gotta clean that up right away. Alright, I'm gonna stop the video and clean that up because it's got some weird here. Look, watch. I guess some brownish fluid leaked out of there. Leaked on my car, and I don't know if that's corrosive or what that's gonna do. Certainly want to get that off, but you get the idea. That is a thick soot. That is unbelievable. I've never seen it that bad before on a car. Alright, we're going to get started. I'm going to pause the video for a second. I'm going to get started on my cleaning station, and I'll show you guys some of the cleaning. I'll get a video for that. Give me a bit. Guys, so as I took off my throttle body, and obviously it looked how it did, I said, let me look into my intake manifold to see how it looked. I want to show you guys, because this looks like it'll be another project for another day. I'm not sure when. May not even be this year. But definitely this intake manifold needs to be cleaned out. There's a lot of carbon built up in here, a lot of soot. Looks like some fluid there, gas, oil, probably gasoline considering it's intake manifold, but you know. Anyways, it is looking pretty bad in there. You can see a lot of buildup. So it is something I will be doing at another time. Not sure when. Got some other projects on the board. But that's something, as I said, needs to be done. I mean, that is pretty bad. But of course, this needs to be done more. So, so I'm about to begin now. I'm obviously not going to show you guys the entire cleaning video. This will probably take quite some time, but I'll give you guys an idea of what needs to be done. So obviously, like you know, I got my throttle body cleaner. Back the trusty, not rusty nylon brush. I want to stress something to you guys. There is obviously, you know, different grit sandpapers, different brushes out there that are either steel or brass or whatever. All sorts of different things. You want to avoid using that. You need something that's soft. Better to use something that's soft and it'll take a lot of elbow grease, especially in this scenario, versus something that's heavy duty, because you don't want to scratch up your plenum, right? Or sorry, the flap. You don't want to scratch that up. That's meant to be as smooth as possible to allow for the best airflow. And yeah, even this here, it's going to take me quite some time using a nylon brush. But it's better to use that than to actually go and use a steel brush. Yeah, it'll take it off a lot quicker, but I risk damaging or scratching that, and that's not good for the car either. So obviously, you know, keep that in mind. I also, considering the condition, I have some rags. Use rags. I have obviously some. Look at that. All these other things I know and I forget the word. I have some paper towels. Jeez. Sorry guys, brain moment there. Anyways, paper towels. I got paper towels, so we can use that obviously to clean up as we go, because you will need to do this in stages. So obviously take this off. I take off the little red nozzle. Gonna open this up. And of course, it's just, you know, putting it in there, and we gotta begin. So as I stressed before, obviously I'm doing this over here. You don't want to avoid getting any fluid into that plug or anything like that, so you want to do this in phases. So the first part is just going to spray it down. And you get your nylon brush, and we start kind of chipping away at this. Alright? You're going to see a lot of gunk coming off here as we go. And as I go, and then you spray, break it down, Obviously, as you do this, I'm going to lay a rag out here so I can put this down. Again, you don't want that in the driveway. You're going to have to spray down your brush. Your brush is going to collect a lot of that too. So it's going to be a lot of spraying. You can already see the carbon buildup is really starting to come off there. So you can already see the difference it's making there. So I'm going to get started on that. I'll show you guys. One thing to note, I noticed here, it looks like some sort of gasket that goes around here. So I'll advise to exercise caution. You don't want to damage that. I don't think that's something you're going to replace. It looks like it's actually fed into the throttle body. So if that gets damaged, you're going to have to buy a new throttle body, and that's not cheap. So keep that in mind itself. But now I'm going to get to work on this. I'm going to clean this up, and I'll come back when it's nice and clean, both sides, and I'll show you guys the results and where to go next. Alright, so we're all done, and it's both amazing results and disappointing results, I'll be honest with you. So obviously you can see, there we go, a lot of the shine back, all the carbon's off. The good I like about the result on this throttle body is obviously so much of that carbon, you should just seen it just pouring off. Everything just came right off on it. It's looking a lot better. The bad is because it hasn't been done in so long. I never even thought about to do it on my car until, you know, the starting issues and so on. That unfortunately it's stained, and it's so badly stained that no matter how much I scrubbed, it wouldn't come off. I sprayed until it was just clear fluid coming out from the throttle body cleaner, and continued to scrub. And the problem with throttle body cleaner is that it dries very quickly. So it's not like I could spray it, maybe try and leave it to penetrate further and then clean it after, let's say, 5 minutes. It dries up within like 30 seconds to a minute. But I am still very happy with the results. Even now I noticed that the butterfly flap does move a lot better. But, you know, we're going to go and put this back in, and we're going to test drive it and see. In the interim, though, reinstallation, very easy and very straightforward. The car is just like how you saw the removal. So obviously the first thing, line up the two bolts, two threaded rods, and just slide that right back on. Trail it in with each of the bolts here. I'll start by threading this one first. Now, as when I tighten everything, especially when it's a 4-bolt pattern across the corners, I always like to go across. Like if you're doing tires, you know, I'll go here, 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 and here. Just like if you're tightening tires, 4-bolt or 5-bolt patterns. Of course, this part here, you don't have to worry about it. You're just threading everything on. But when I'm tightening, I just like that approach. Prevents things from bending or not installing properly, from warping, things like that. So keep that in mind. This here now, obviously, since we removed it, the threads are all cleared of any rust and debris, so rethreading them back on is by hand, very straightforward. And basically you just go till it's like hand tight, there, hand tight, toe, this one too, hand tight, good to go. Now we're going to do this other one down here. Again, exercise caution. You don't want to drop one of these or anything like that. They can be a pain to find because they can get lost near the back by the exhaust. Anywhere inside the engine bay, you don't want to drop these nuts. Can be these nuts. Yeah, you don't want to drop these because it can be a bit of a pain to find. And there we go. Now these, there is a torque specification. I have not looked it up, I'll be honest, and normally I like to look that stuff up. But because essentially these were pretty much on par to hand tight, a little past hand tight, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So first I did everything hand tight. There we go. Now I'm going to get my ratchet. And I'm going to do 2 stages. So the first I'm going to go until I feel that it's firm. Same down here. Firm. Over here. Firm. Here. Firm. And then once I go on, I'll do another quarter turn, roughly. Again, you don't want to damage anything there. That's it, done there. And then you just put your plenum back on. Let's see here. Oh, point of note, this was attached to something under here and it disconnected. Go. That just connects right back there. Put that on. Feed that through. We're going to retighten. Go. This back up. And of course is push this in. Be cautious. You don't want to damage the plug. And other than putting on the engine cover, you're all done. That's it. You could do this whole job, depending on the condition of your throttle body itself, in about a half an hour. It's not a very hard job to do. It's definitely lower on the difficulty scale, although it may seem daunting at first. But you can see it's very straightforward, very easy to do. I do recommend you guys do it, any Grand Prix owners. Other than that, if there's anything else you guys want to see, let me know. I'll see if I could do any videos. I'll have some more coming up very shortly, both in the auto FYI section and also just some general repairs. And other than that, I'll see you guys around. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And you guys take care. Bye.